UPSs, or uninterruptible power supplies. That's what we're going to talk about today. And I have somebody special here. It's my dad.
Hello, everybody.
He is the one who's taught me everything I know about UPSs. And I have a couple here that we can talk about. But what is your experience with UPSs?
Well, I've had UPSs or battery backups from, 300 watts to 60,000 watt units. And the 60,000 watts units are expensive, but they're awesome. And they can do a whole facility.
And probably a little bigger than my little floor one over there.
Yes, and $7,000 battery changes. And probably by now they'd be $10,000.
This one does not have a $7,000 battery, but I've used a lot of these in my time, and I have one over here. I have another one on my other computer down here. I know you use some of these too, even though you have those giant ones sometimes.
Yes. Yeah, these are great for a single purpose, single location. They're not great as a facility or a large installation. You wouldn't want to have 30 or 40 of these, or one in every single rack that you have. So that's where the bigger UPSs come in. But these are great. They do what they're supposed to do. They switch power. They have a single battery usually in them. You pop the usually slide out, put a new battery in. But they do have a great purpose. They're very reliable. I personally like the APC units. There's others that are, I'm sure, equally good. So
now, a couple months ago, a radio station in St. Louis closed down, and when that happened, they actually had a bunch of these APC UPSs, the big Rackmount ones. So that was the time that I decided I actually need a network rack for all my stuff. This has my NASs, so I have a primary and backup NAS. Has my Raspberry Pis running everything, and this UPS actually has a load indicator, and mine has no LEDs on it, so even with all this equipment it's not doing much. But what would be the point at which you'd switch from using those little desk UPSs to using some massive one in the rack like this?
The reason you would go to the bigger unit is the bigger load would be the number one reason. The reliability, the way it makes UPS power. So battery sources can be used as the source is always making power and it's plugged in the wall, or it can be plugged in the wall, passing the wall power, and then flicking power really quick to a battery supplied power. So those are all options you have, but the number one reason is size and quality. So that one is a nice quality unit. It's a little older, but it's free and it's a great unit. The things that are the gotchas about these units are, as the older ones, you got to watch out at what they do when you overload them. So we could have a time when the battery pack goes to turn back on a power fail and the load is too much. The battery shuts it down, and then it says, okay, let's look at this again. It turns on for a second and then it loads again. It'll just keep doing that and doing that. So I always sizing a battery pack or battery and a UPS, you want to get it like 50 to 75% loaded at the most. And 50 is a great space to load it. It gives you a longer run time and so forth. And I see yours is like barely loaded. You can see the load.
Yeah.
Like you have very low load.
Yeah, I mean, the NASs probably use the most power in this whole rack. Maybe that 10 gigabit switch, but yeah, there's not a whole lot here. But I did test it, and it goes about 90 minutes. Another cool thing I just did a couple weeks ago, which I don't know if we can see back here. There's that LED blinking. That is the network card for this UPS, and it's hot plug. So I just bought one on eBay and slapped it in there. And now on my network, I can observe the UPS from any other device and tie it into my management software. And
yeah, so Jeff mentioned that network accessibility is great. It can send you warnings, test results, when it goes on and off power. As you can see, I had this one just from Tuesday. Going on and off power response to distorted input as opposed to no input. So I love that stuff. That's what we need, more email.
Okay, so if you were going to buy one of these, what are some of the considerations you'd have coming into it, and what are some things that you need to look for in the specs, especially if you're dealing with audio or video or something that needs that more clean power signal?
Well, the first thing is your size. Like I mentioned before, and you're going to see them all, they're rated in volt amps, so you're going to convert that to watts because most of us talk in watts. But the other thing is you want clean sine wave power. It's just sine wave is nice and smooth. It's going to be more expensive. They have a triangular wave and they have a stepped wave. And for a lot of equipment, you're going to be fine with any of them. But you do want to think about that and think about whether you want the power delivered from the batteries all the time or let that little switch happen. So those are the main things. And then being able to hot swap a battery, that's huge. Who wants to shut the whole rack down, right? and then change the batteries, and then turn it back on. So you always want to make sure it's safe, hot swappable batteries.
That is something I noticed on this unit when I installed it. It is ridiculously heavy, and this rack is not sized for a unit like this. It didn't work with the actual rails, so I had to improvise a mounting solution back there.
I remember that.
It fits, but it's not, I wouldn't recommend it.
Yeah.
But I did think to myself, like, man, changing the battery on this thing would be a beast. So,
Yeah.
you know, I noticed that it has a battery that's pretty new.
Yeah.
What is
Yep.
involved in changing out one of these batteries?
And always put a sticker on, because you want to, you go 4, 5, 6, at some point you're asking for trouble. So put the sticker on the front so you don't have to do a dig search for it, but it's a good move there. Anyway, the battery packs, everything is behind us. You pop this off so you can see here. Here, I'll just pull this off, Jeff, and then we'll see if you got a hot swappable. Maybe I won't pull that off.
My NASA's doing something right now, so I don't know if I'd risk it.
Yeah, but you literally there, if it's a hot swap, which this one is, I'm sure, you can pull this and unplug, and then you got a screw here. I see a screw there missing. Anyway, then it slides out, and you'll have a tray of batteries, and then you have to be careful to change out those plugs. You don't want to damage or do anything weird with the connectors. Put them back in, slide it in, or you can buy the pack from APC or your favorite supplier. Yeah. So, and then the satisfaction after the job always of putting the cover back on is it's great, because you're not going to have to touch that thing probably for another 4 years.
So if I did need a battery in a hurry, like let's say that this UPS was doing something crazy and I noticed like, oh, the battery's bad or smoking or something fun like that. I have a few questions. One is, let's say I didn't need it in a hurry. I've heard some people are switching their batteries, like these lead acid batteries are super heavy. Like when I installed it, I almost messed up my finger. Is there any other type of battery I could just buy and swap in? I know some people talking about LiPo or lithium. And also, where can you get batteries in a hurry? Or would you recommend buying third-party batteries or the first-party? Any experiences there?
Yeah, so battery replacement, substitution, I don't recommend anything outside of what the unit was built for, because its charging circuits, cooling, all of that is built for that style of battery. There are UPSs that you can actually in software change the battery type. If you don't have that feature, don't change your batteries to a different type for sure. And then in town, we have batteries pluses like a lot of towns would have, and they do stock a lot of these batteries that go in the UPSs. They're not a sponsor, but they do a great job. That they are helpful. So and their pricing, if you go in as a company or as a what would you call it? You have an account there. You get a good discount. And they help you with all your other stuff in your house and your life. So there you go. Now they are a sponsor, right?
No,
they're still not a sponsor.
I wish it were that easy.
What?
In a year or two when I need the batteries.
So anyway, don't replace. I mean, batteries, even as they age normally, you want to keep them like you got a nice cool basement here. Batteries can swell, and then you try to take that pack out with swollen batteries. That can be a problem. So there's just a lot of funny things about batteries. The other thing is that the same stock size battery with the same terminals on it, you can find them in for less cost. You can buy the lower capacity battery in amp hours, or you could buy the higher in the same thing. And of course, you're going to pay more for the higher, but you got to figure out of your load, how long do you want it to last. If you have a generator, you don't need much time. If you don't have a generator, you want it to last long enough for someone to physically get to the equipment, right, and do something to shut it down cleanly or something. So, which is another feature on UPSs. They can send the shutdown command to a lot of your equipment.
And you said you had an experience one time with a UPS that was acting a little funny. What happened? And
it was probably very early on in the big UPSs in my life, but we had incorporated a new station into our rack room, and so we plugged a bunch of stuff in, but still we would not have surpassed our rule of 50 to 75%, but we probably were at 75%. And one time we had a momentary power outage when the generator kicked on, and the rack of equipment was going on and off, and it was probably 25 minutes driving and walking in the room to get there. The equipment would turn on and turn off so fast that the UPS was literally being overloaded by the stuff turning on, and then it would shut down, and then it would go, okay, things are cool, and it would start up again. So horrible experience for sure. That's why you don't overload your UPS.
So if you can give like a one paragraph summary of the things that you need to think about with the UPSs, why they're important, and why it's not something you should just put off and hope for the best.
There's no question that we all have dealt with power issues, and the more investment you have in equipment, the more you should spend time thinking about your UPS. It's going to protect you from outages, so you have time to react and settle things before your power might go out, and it always protects your equipment from spikes, lightning, and so forth. So that's the reason that I tell you, get your UPS.